In this video tutorial, we will make a base fabric to wrap around the base of the mirror. First, wrap the yarn around your left hand. Pinch the yarn with your thumb and your middle finger. Tie a knot in the yarn. Put the hook on the right side. Yarn round hook counterclockwise. I'll show you again. Pinch where the lines cross with your thumb and middle finger. There is one loop on the hook. Yarn round hook. Pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. Next, we need to work about 14/7 chain stitches as the foundation chain. The specific number of chain stitches are subject to the actual situation. The length of the foundation chain stitches is 2 chain stitches longer than the base of the mirror. Now we'll start. Yarn round hook. Pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. A chain is done. The V shape is a stitch. This is the back loop of this stitch. Place a marker on this stitch. The second chain. Yarn round hook and pull the yarn through the loop on hook. The third chain. The fourth chain. The fifth chain. The sixth chain. The seventh chain. The eighth chain. The ninth chain. The 10th chain. You can compare the length of foundation chains to the base of mirror. Since everyone's situation is different, 47 is just an approximate number. The specific number of chain stitches are subject to the actual situation. (11) 12. Continue to work chains until it's about 1 centimeter longer than the base of mirror. Like this. You can compare them while crocheting. Now the foundation chain is finished. Let's start working the first row. First, work 2 chains as the turning chain. We need to work 2 chains at the beginning of every row. Skip the 2 chains just made. We'll crochet in the third chain. We need to work a double crochet in the chain loop. Yarn round hook. Insert hook into the back loop of the third chain. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn round hook. Pull the yarn through the last 2 loops. A double crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. We need to work 1 double crochet into the back loop of each chain stitches in the foundational row. The second double crochet, yarn round hook, insert hook into the back loop of the next chain, hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. The second double crochet is done. The third one, yarn round hook, insert hook into the back loop of the next stitch, hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. The third double crochet is done. The fourth one, insert hook into the back loop of the next stitch. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. The fifth double crochet. The sixth double crochet. Continue to work double crochets until the last chain. We'll skip the repetitive parts. The last double crochet. Row 1 is finished. Then work 2 chains as the turning chain of the second row. Turn the fabric over. Work 1 double crochet in every stitch. We need to pick the whole stitch of the double crochets through both strands of the V-shapes. Yarn round hook, insert hook into the whole stitch. Hook the yarn and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook. Hook the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops on the hook. Then hook the yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. A double crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch, under both strands of the V. The second double crochet. The third double crochet. The fourth double crochet. Continue to work double crochets in every stitch. Until the marked stitch. We'll skip the repetitive parts. Row 2 is finished. Now we'll start making row 3. First, work 2 chains as the turning chain. Turn the fabric over. We need to work double crochets in every stitch. The first double crochet is done. Place a marker on the first stitch. Continue to work double crochets until the marked stitch. Try to control the strength of your hand when crocheting. In this way, the fabric would be flat. We'll skip the repetitive parts. The width of the fabric is determined by the number of rows. We need to crochet about 17 rows to wrap around the base of the mirror. You can compare the length when crocheting. Like this. Now about one more row is needed. When finishing the last row, pull the loop larger. Don't cut off the yarn. Compare the fabric with the base of mirror. Put the base in the middle. Wrap the fabric around it. Like this. We need to leave a gap in the center because we'll put the mirror here. Leave the yarn tail slightly longer because we'll use it to sew up. Cut off the yarn. Pull out the yarn tail. Now let's assemble the fabric and the base. Put the base of mirror in the middle of the fabric. These two sides and these two sides should be symmetrical. Wrap the fabric around the base. Here we'll insert the mirror. Like this. Now we'll use the glue stick. Apply glue to the base of the mirror. Then put the fabric over it. Be careful because it's hot. Don't cover the slot. Press it tight. Then apply glue to the other side. Don't cover the slot. Then apply glue here. Don't apply too much because it might overflow. Be careful not to burn your hands. Wait for the glue to set. Now let's sew up. Pass the thread through the needle. Sew these two parts together. The other side is the same. Pass the needle through the first stitch. The stitches should match each other. Sew all the way down to the slot. Let's zoom in. We stop here. Then we'll sew it backwards to reinforce. Now let's sew the side. We'll start from here. Also sew it backwards to reinforce. If the yarn tail is not long enough, you can connect new yarn. Just hide the knot in the fabric. Continue to sew the other side in the same way. We'll skip the repetitive parts. Now it's sewed up. Hide the yarn tail in the fabric. Like this. You can repeat it again. Cut off the yarn. Now let's sew the other side. It's the same. First, hide this yarn tail. Pass the yarn through the needle and hide it in the fabric. Cut off the yarn. Now we need to use the yarn in the same color. The yarn should be longer in case it's not enough. Pass the yarn through here. Leave a part of yarn tail outside. Then pass it again. Now we'll sew the fabric together in the same way as the other side. The yarn tail is fixed after a couple of stitches. Sew it all the way down here. And we'll sew it backwards to reinforce. Then sew the side together. It's the same as the other side. Then sew it backwards. Continue to finish it. Hide the yarn tail. Cut off the yarn tail. The base fabric is finished.